And a pleasant good day to you. Well, friends, neighbors, it's that time of year again where the air gets a little crisper. Down in Florida, we know when it's getting into the fall, a little bit late, but the hurricanes stop. But I'd like to spend a little time today about the issues that relate to planning for the year to come. Now, the planning has a tax element to it, and there's no doubt about it. Everybody focuses in on taxes. But the real issue is operations. How do you plan for next year's operations? And I think that's the most crucial part. Now, when you know what your profit is from planning for operations, you can do a little tax planning. But the tax planning itself, per se, is based on the entities that you're in. So, for example, if you're in a partnership or a subchapter S corporation or a limited liability company electing to be taxed as a single member LLC on your Form 1040 Schedule C, things that I really didn't want to bore you with, you'll be taxed on the profit regardless of whether you receive it in salaries, wages, distributions. You'll be taxed on profit, not necessarily the cash you receive, but the profit. But I want to move away from that because we focus too much on the taxes. The real issue is what's the operations and what are they going to be for the year to come? One way of doing it is to set up a plan. Now, the plan doesn't have to be expressed in numbers. I find numbers to be nothing more than a communication device. It's a language, and I find it useful, but a lot of people don't. So an essay-based narrative, and with my undergraduate degree being in English, I do have a love of the essay-based plan. The essay-based plan is a plan that gets into detail as to how you're going to generate more in income, what the economic status is going to be for the year to come, maybe putting in there your hopes and dreams of why things will happen a certain way and what you can do if things aren't working well. Because you will go back to this. This is not necessarily a novel to be placed then on the bookshelf once you've gone through it. This is not War and Peace. This is not Ulysses. This is a companion piece that you pull up every day and you read and you see what your thinking is. So it takes a little planning, and it takes planning from a variety of people. The first thing you do is set up each segment of service and ask them to write. Now, unfortunately, in the United States, we're not as articulate as we were in years gone by. And I blame that to a little bit our educational system, a little bit to the digitalization of America. But the fact is that we have to get people to start talking with and among themselves, and then to learn the skill of penning things down, of writing things down. I understand that there are some school systems that don't even teach their students cursive. So they're dependent upon everything being able to be tapped out or typed out, as the case may be. And they lose that aspect for the introspective opportunity of editing. But what I would like to do is to set up a little proposal for you. So first of all, each head of service in your practice, those that are responsible for collecting cash up front, dealing with clients and patients, those that are involved in providing professional services, that would be the licensed professional that exists in each one of the practices, the support folks that provide the essential element for efficiency and effectiveness of the services that the licensed professional would provide, and then those support services that offer those individuals a capacity. So, for example, the administrative group, the bookkeepers, the practice managers, the marketing folks, the accounts receivable folks, and if you're big enough as a practice, the accounts payable. And everyone deals with each one of their segments separately, but they never join together to write an essay. Because the next step after we go through this entire process of having the heads of service write these essays is to get together, sit down, and read with expression the narrative of each one of their segments of service, allowing them to have a dialogue. The dialogue is essential because it provides you with an opportunity, and hopefully you'll be in the room too, to listen and learn about your practice in ways that you probably had no idea that it was existing before. That then becomes the basis for a further dialogue, and then a penning or scribing, if you will, of what the plan would be among the group after hearing each one of the perspectives. The perspectives will differ based upon job function and duty. So don't be surprised if you'll see a variety of different aspects. This diversity provides strength for the entity in the year to come. It also provides a little understanding of what everybody has to do and how they do it. So you got together, you had each head of service writing a brilliant essay. That becomes a thesis and antithesis. And then the synthesis is that you assign the scribe in the meeting the ultimate duty to take each component part of the narrative, each perspective, take all of the notes, and then place them into a plan, if you will. That plan should be detailed and exhaustive, should start out with an executive summary, so it's something that you can then go back to and read and review. Since most people hate to read, the executive summary is probably the most valuable document that's being written. And then as each quarter exists, if you're blessed with having a summary of the results of operations and financial position, you can then compare the objectives of the essay to the actual numbers. And again, the numbers tell a story. If you can't translate that story, then bring in your CPA. My God, they love to be involved. And they don't have to be physically in the building. Through the magic of Zoom, one of the real blessings that was popularized through the last novel epidemic that we had, we now have the capacity to bring in people, bring in experts, and not incur the costs. So a Zoom meeting might take a half hour, might even take an hour, but it certainly is devoid of a lot of the coffee clutches and inefficiencies and excuses for not being there on time. Because with a Zoom meeting, you're there, and if you're not there when it starts, then you lost out. So with all of that in mind, not to belabor the issue, trying to keep things within the 8-minute level, I'd like to make that a modest proposal. It doesn't require a lot, and you will be amazed. One of the best discussions is when you get into fees and you start to see what you price out for fees, and then you listen to what other people in other segments of the practice do. You scratch your head and say, I had no idea that we did all of that. And maybe there is some room for reassessment of the fee structure. So with that in mind, just a little bit of tips. As the air becomes crisper, as we become relieved of hurricanes and tornadoes, I'd like to say thank you very much. And I also want to say thank you, Professional Fusion, for allowing me to produce this video and offer ideas and thoughts to improve practices. And we'll be seeing you in a bit. Take care.